Welcome again, Aries. It's 2020 March, would you believe? I wasn't able to do the full reading last month, of course, because of the eruption of the volcano next door here where I live in the Philippines. But I'm back on board now, back home after the evacuation, and I can only put that down to this very intense conjunction of Saturn and Pluto that I mentioned last month here. As you can see, this conjunction is taking place in your 10th house. This is the career sector of your horoscope. And having your ruling planet Mars, which is the ruling planet of Aries, also up here in the upper part of your horoscope, with very good directional strength, is an excellent omen for this month, giving you the breadth of vision you need. That's also shown by the position of Jupiter. And an important point that's often overlooked is this slow-moving transit of Ketu. Looks like a set of inverted headphones. Here's the opposite counterpart, the North Node, or your future karma. This is your past karma. And what we see here is that your career has been indeed undergoing some of the influences of your past karma. Some of the actions of your past have come to bear upon your work. Now, often this particular body in the zodiac shows us what we must lose. So although you've got great opportunities here, my sense is that it's like the old saying, no pain, no gain. If you're not prepared to make some sort of sacrifice in your work, you're not going to be able to achieve the dramatic results that we see here. Notice the tension building up here around the 6th of March with the moon transiting here, brightening moon opposite here. At the same time, you've got the retrograde Mercury in your 11th house, which has exited out of this 12th house. The 12th house is your expenditure. It's your losses. You've also got the Sun and Neptune here in the 12th house of charitable works, Aries. So you could be giving and you could be, in a sense, I say losing here, but that is more to do with some of the lessons that you've learned and also a process of attrition, getting rid of those things or losing those things that are in fact problematic for you. That energy is going to build up strongly. You had a tension point here around the 6th, and then you can see here, keep your eye here on the transiting moon, which makes its way into your 6th house, again a workplace arena, and it's going to be forming some really interesting, here we go now, that grand trine, the moon, Venus and Mars, 10th house of career, 2nd house of income, and 6th house of workplace practices. They're around the 8th and the 9th of the month. So this is an important period, and right here, as soon as the moon hits that full moon phase of itself, that is when you're likely to see some very powerful results. You've got to be careful at this point. I think the period of around the 9th and 10th, you may see yourself overworking or getting emotionally too involved in the work that you're doing. So it's important to keep a lid on your emotions, and you'll notice that also around that time, the placement of Mercury in its stationary position. So things are very, very powerful. Mercury, by the way, is also ruling this 6th house of work. So these factors all combine to give a very strong focus on your profession and your finance. You'll notice here too that this period of around the 9th and 10th, leading up to this conjunction of Venus and Uranus, is very, very powerful and unexpected in terms of its results financially. Moon moves through the 7th house around the 11th and 12th. This is the place of partnership. I want you to keep your eye also on this transit of Saturn up here, which is the career planet, and it does make a move this month for the first time in a couple, 2.5 years, from this 10th house area of your career. And Saturn's position here, although you've got these very formidable and friendly planets, your ruling planet and Jupiter here, indicating this breadth of vision that you have right now for your work. Saturn has been putting the brakes on there for a long time. And those of you that have been tuning into me for a long while will also be quite aware of that fact, and will want to, as soon as possible, see the end of this transit. As it moves into this 11th house, which it does this month, you'll start to see a great relief taking place there in your professional arena. There could be inhibitions in the way that you've been approaching your employer. The work itself may have been draining, tedious, obstructive. The people you've been working with may also have been a thorn in your side. So this transit is an important one. The animation is a little bit slower than I'd like, but we can see as the moon swings around here in its dark phase that you are going to see this part of your horoscope again activated around the 17th and 18th. There could be some hot-headed interactions during the conjunction of the moon, south node and Mars. And this is the time when some of those past karmic influences will come to bear upon your work as well. The moon is actually a very instinctive body, so you've got to be careful, especially here between Mars and Ketu. You could be overly reactive. We see here that Mercury moves back in its forward motion into this 12th house of your horoscope. I'd be saying to many of you that you've got to be extremely careful in terms of what you give to other people in this phase. You may be giving too much of yourself. And around the 18th, 19th and 20th, when this Mercury transit activates this 12th house, you'll be thinking about what you can do to win people over. Now, don't give too much, is what I say. You lower your self-value and your self-esteem in the process. A good shift of energy, and this is going to affect your relationships around the 20th. We see that that's happening with the transit of the sun into your sun sign around the 21st. And that is particularly notable because it's the in the northern hemisphere, the spring ingress, what we call the Aries ingress. It is a favourable planet to you, and it is very, very strongly influencing your relationships by casting its glance over here. Venus, also being in its own sign, ruling the 7th house of partnerships, is also exceptionally well placed here, especially moving past this conjunction of Uranus. So from around the last week or so of the month, you'll see this wonderful, very desirable trine aspect to Jupiter and Pluto, indicating your good fortune or luck in financial matters. That is happening, incidentally, at around the same time that we see the movement of that Saturn out of your 10th house of career. Indeed, this is the period you've been probably waiting for, where there's a shift, a lessening of the intensity of this 10th house, the obstructions that you've been feeling there. Also, by the way, there is what we call a reverse square to your relationships. So that is also going to ease up on that pressure that you've been feeling there for the past few months, if not years. So we come to the last day of the month. I did mean to go back over this new moon, which takes place just in the last few days of the month, and also casts its influence on the 7th house of relationships. From a personal perspective, this new moon is going to shift things in yourself and give you a whole new sense of self-esteem. But again, I guess the cautionary note here is that you don't allow yourself to be too drawn into becoming the Good Samaritan for everyone around you. Join me at astrology.com.au. I've got the rest of the detail for you there in the monthly forecast. The daily readings are available for you. And shortly I'll have some really great news too. We're relaunching the site astrology.com.au. So hopefully you'll keep on top of that. And of course, I'm here if you need my personal services. Drop me a line and don't forget to subscribe. See you next month. Bye-bye for now.